this.
Par 5.
In fact, and this is an attempt to sidestep the ruling, and once again, have the motion in limine be used as a sword rather than a shield. We didn't make motions in limine to limit this material, the plaintiffs did. The contention here is that Mr. Jones,
It's funny. The one that always makes the motion to limit, they want it enforced on these guys, but they want to avoid it. It's like a restraining order. When we get the restraining order, she wants them to arrest the guy if he violates it, but she can call him and invite him over to the house, and there's no problem.
The law of the case is that the court has concluded these statements were false, not because they were litigated, but because of failure to comply with discovery. We can't talk about that. The plaintiff has earned the right to call him a liar in open court. That whether we agree or not, that's the law of the case. What they've not done is earn the right to put him in a position where he either disagrees with their characterization of him, thus running afoul of a prior ruling of the court, or agrees with them, thus committing perjury. We would go further and say that if we get to a point where an invocation is necessary, they're not entitled to an adverse inference because that is giving undue weight.
So, Attorney Pattis, what would be wrong if his answer, his true answer, how would it violate the order, is if he says he denies the extent of the damage?
Well, I don't know that that's responsive to the question, candidly.
Yeah. So, Your Honor, I think what's happening here is we had a sidebar to avoid a proper assertion. I said I'll do it a different way, and so I came back here and instead of telling Mr. Jones that he had lied, I said if one did, that would cause damage.
Well, who cares?
Well, I think it's got to be asked in a way that, and I don't want to tell you how to ask it, but
This is,
no, let me just
I'm sorry.
get it out. Where we're not putting Mr. Jones in a pickle, but where the jury understands that the issue has been decided, which they've been told many, many times now. So can you think of a way to do it along those lines? So here, the court has already determined that liability is not an issue. The jury is just determining damages. And so what's the question for Mr. Jones?
No, there is no, first of all, he's a defendant. This is an impeachment on credibility grounds.
What the question is, though.
The question is, rather than ask him directly, where he now thinks, a truthful answer would somehow incriminate himself, I've asked him whether or not one would expect that if one were to do these things, it would cause harm. Now, Attorney Pattis is still free to argue at any point that the harm caused here wasn't what the plaintiff's alleged. That's what he's apparently claiming. But Mr. Jones's response to that question, if the answer is yes, one would expect that type of harm. That doesn't violate the court's orders, and it's not false. If the answer is no, one wouldn't expect that. That doesn't violate the court's orders, and it's not false, right? So either one, he can testify truthfully without violating the court's order and putting himself in contempt.
Or I don't know.
Or I don't know.
All right, so how is...
What that, Judge, is it's argumentative in tone. He's not an expert, and so what one does isn't what we're here to show. We're here to show what he did.
Right, but that's different. No, Attorney Pattis, how many times do I have to say when I'm speaking, you stop? You have been a member of the bar for a long, long time, and you know the rules in all the courts. So, your objection was that...
Look at that snark remark. Wow, what a punk. He's been getting away with shit.
So, your objection...
Look at that. Wow. These two are tag teaming him and his client. That's bullshit.
Was that it was a motion in limine issue, I thought. That it would require him to lie. I now hear that it's a different objection, that it's speculative, he's not an expert.
That's not true. He brought up the expert.
I'm waiting to finish, so I don't want to follow your order. I have been an officer for a long time. As you know, I insist on making my record, so thank you. And I'm sorry that I said that in question. I thought I wasn't done. What I was trying to say was the following. I objected because he's trying to get an evocation in the jury's presence, which is entirely wrong, without permission of the court. I objected further because he was asking Mr. Jones a question that places him on the horns of the dilemma. In the course of all of his proffer outside the jury's presence, he's now switched it to one would expect. That is simply not relevant. That's argumentative. He's a fact with his state of mind about his conduct is.
I can't disagree with that, so I will sustain the objection. And where does that leave us with respect to possible future invocation?
If there's going to be an invocation, I've requested it prelude to it be outside the jury's presence so that I can argue about whether the plaintiffs are entitled.
All right, so how does that work procedurally? So there's a question. You're going to invoke on his behalf?
I can't do that. I don't think. I'm certainly in the jury's presence. I'll argue. I'll simply say
in a
motion
civil
by
case.
invocation. Motion by invocation.
Okay. Does that work, Attorney Matty?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. So if that happens, Mr. Jones, if that happens, just put the brakes on, okay? So that we can do it. Okay, let's bring the jury out.
Refer to, I asked you some questions about Robbie Parker, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I asked you some questions about Robbie Parker.
Yes.
I showed you some videos, right?
Yes.
And I showed you a video where you were describing not just one parent, but a bunch of parents coming up and doing the fake crying and the laugh. Do you remember that video?
No, I don't.
Good answer.
We show.
I wouldn't remember anything to make his job easier.
19.
Fake scud attacks on themselves back in 1991, 1990. What they stage this? I don't know. Do penguins live in Antarctica? Wolfgang W. Halbig's our guest, former state police officer in the Norfolk Customs Department, and then over the last decades created one of the biggest, most successful school safety training groups, and he just, okay, you dropped a bombshell of your scores of points, your 16 questions. If you've got a school of 100 kids and then nobody can find them, and then you've got parents laughing on, and then they walk over to the camera and go, and not just one, but a bunch of parents doing this, and then photos of kids that are still alive, they said died. I mean, they think we're so dumb that it's really hidden in plain view.
So, Mr. Jones, does that refresh your recollection about referring to not just one parent, but a bunch of parents doing the fake crying and the laughing?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And when you were deposed, you acknowledged, did you not, that you had referred to the parents who had brought this case as actors. Didn't you acknowledge that then?
I mean, the only person's name I ever said was Robbie Parker, but I guess that clip's from like 7 years ago or wherever it is. It all long time ago.
So, Mr. Jones, just let's get back to it and make sure.
Oh, sorry.
So the question was, do you remember in your deposition where you acknowledged that the families who had brought this case you had called actors? Do you remember that testimony, sir?
No.
I think we've had like 4 depositions. Which one was it?
You remember you were in my office?
Yes.
We were in a conference room?
Yes.
Okay, I was sitting just about as far as I am from the court reporter from you.
I'm trying to remember we've had quite a few.
You and I have only had 2 in person, correct?
Yes. And then
Okay.
and several over the
We had 1 by Zoom, correct?
no, we had 2.
All right, well, Mr. Jones, I'm talking about the ones when you were in person sitting right next to me.
Okay, that's why I'm trying to refresh my memory.
So, am I correct that during that deposition, you acknowledged under oath that you had referred to these families as actors?
I don't remember.
I don't remember the testimony, but I'm until
Then shut up. I don't remember. Shut up. Shut the hell up.
But I never even seen their faces till most of them until they sued me. I don't know, so I can't answer your question. I don't have the answer to that.
You just don't remember that testimony is your answer, right?
I believe it's the same testimony I gave her today.
Okay. Okay. Well, why don't we, may I approach her?
You might.
You see this question where I say, I'm asking.
Which exhibit, sir?
This is Mr. Jones'
Well,
deposition.
there are 4 of them. Which one is that?
April 5th, 2022.
Page 252.
Thank you.
I'm asking if you'd agree with that. You've given me 2 options here. One option is it is just an actor playing a character. The other option is it is somebody who is really who they say they are, but they're going along with the official script.
Those are the options you gave me. Answer, yes, that's what you said, right?
Yes.
The first option, Robbie Parker is an actor creating a role. In that circumstance, Robbie Parker is just a fictitious character, correct? What'd you say?
Yes. That's role playing, yes.
You said yes, right?
Yeah.
In that context, the actor playing Robbie Parker would be going out in front of the whole world to give a statement, knowing that he's just playing a fictitious part, correct? What'd you say?
Yes.
In your deposition, you acknowledged that for this hoax to work, it couldn't just be Robbie Parker who was an actor. They all had to be in on it, correct?
You've refreshed my memory. I believe I was answering your hypothetical questions.
Okay. Listen to the question I just asked
All right.
you. You acknowledged in your deposition that when you were calling this a hoax, that in order for this hoax to be pulled off, it wouldn't just be Robbie Parker, it would have to be all the families who were actors, correct?
Objection to the
We're
form.
recovering the controversy of was it staged or not.
Move to strike, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Can you answer that question, sir?
Can you refresh me with the transcript?
Sure.
The last one was very helpful.
In fact, let's just pull it up for everybody.
Goes back to examples like before the Russian Revolution, czars would build fake villages for PR stunts. And I think there was some, I read the exact historic nature of it. I may be wrong about that. It's something to do with Russian history and government staging events.
Right. And this Potemkin village would be filled with people to play parts as if they were villagers, correct?
Yes.
Actors in a hoax that the government was staging.
It's like the Truman Show.
And the Truman Show, that's a movie, yes?
Yes.
Where this fake village is plopped down and everybody who populates it is in on the hoax, yes?
I think that's what the movie's about.
And that's what Potemkin village is, to your understanding.
It's got a lot of definitions, but I think that's a fair one.
Is that about right? Is that how you were using it when you were deposed?
You got to refresh my memory.
That's what we're trying to do here. All right. We'll play now.
Your claim, in response to my question, that there is a fictitious person, Robbie Parker, with an actor playing, you'd agree with me that by going in front of the camera to millions and millions of people, there would be somebody who would know, hey, I know that guy. That's not Robbie Parker, right? Objection. Just answer that question. Do you think is that a reasonable expectation?
No.
Okay. Objection. And if somebody were to recognize,
It's a Potemkin village.
if someone were to recognize the person playing Robbie Parker is in fact Robbie Parker, that would blow the whole hoax, right?
Objection. Objection. You know what Potemkin village is?
Answer my question.
No, there's a Potemkin village.
Okay. By Potemkin village, you mean
This is
everybody
fucking worthless.
who is in.
Yeah.
No. That's which would mean it's.
That'd be a good time for lunch break, Your Honor.
Maddie, may continue.
Mr. Jones, do you remember before the break I showed a video of your deposition?
Yes.
And in that video, what you were acknowledging is that your claims that the parents were actors. Do you remember that?
No, it was a hypothetical about a Potemkin village.
That's what you think that was? Let's play it again. Can we pull up, please, that clip?
there's a fictitious person in Robbie Parker with an actor playing, you'd agree with me that by going in front of the camera to millions and millions of people, there will be somebody who would know, hey, I know that guy. That's not Robbie Parker, right? Just answer that question. Do you think that, is that a reasonable expectation?
No.
Okay. And if somebody were to recognize,
It's a Potemkin village.
if somebody were to recognize, somebody were to recognize,
What does he say?
It's a Potemkin village.
if somebody were to recognize, your claim, in response to my question, that there's a fictitious, that by going in front of the cameras, I know that guy. That's not Robbie Parker, right? Just answer that question. If somebody, the person playing Robbie Parker isn't in fact Robbie Parker, that would blow the whole. Answer my question.
Not as a Potemkin village.
Okay. The immediate. That's what you mean. That everybody in the community is in.
Not everybody,
Who were killed would have to be part of that conspiracy, right?
or maybe it didn't even happen.
Which would mean they're clear where there is past. That means one parent.
Testimony, sir?
You say the school is basically just.
This video is
No,
worthless.
that's not my testimony. So, I mean, why can't
Was that you speaking?
Objection.
But it's, I mean,
No, no, just wait till the next question.
I mean, I said in the interview, I thought it happened,
Mr.
just edited.
Jones, Mr. Jones.
Yes. Okay.
He already said he couldn't hear. Why don't you speak up and quit whispering?
We don't want to unpleasant. So just
This was your deposition testimony, was it not, that I just played?
Yes, clips of it.
And you acknowledged during your deposition that you had said that the parents were clearly actors, quote, clearly actors, correct?
No, I said it looked like Robbie Parker was acting.
Mr. Jones, are you aware, having watched some of this trial, that this jury has actually seen a lot of your videos
I
already?
watched some of the trial.
Sir, please just, if you can answer my question. Are you aware, having watched some of the trial, that this jury has already seen a lot of the videos that you made about Sandy Hook?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know?
Sustained.
Sustained. Improper questioning. He's making statements. Good.
Right.
So ordered.
Mr. Jones, did you watch the parts of the trial where I showed a video of you saying the parents were clearly actors? Did you watch that part?
I don't remember.
Okay. You're not telling this jury that you never said there were clearly actors, are you?
No, there had been a point in time where I believe it probably was a hoax because of all the stuff surrounding it.
Judge, I just moved and struck that.
I mean,
I think it's responsive.
It is responsive.
Strike it.
So let's see if we can do this again. You're not telling this jury that you never said they were clearly actors, right?
no, I'm not
You
telling
acknowledge you said that.
I said some might have been, it looked like some might have been, yes.
And we just saw you say, when I asked you what you meant by a cutout, and you acknowledged that you meant that it was just a set on which this fake hoax could play out, right? You see that testimony there?
Yeah, you were asking me a hypothetical of what it is, yes.
Move to strike, Your Honor.
So ordered.
So when you call, let's do it this way. You acknowledged that among the things that you said about Sandy Hook was that it was fake, yes?
Yes,
Synthetic,
yes,
manufactured,
yes,
He's got him going on that yes, yes, yes. You got to be careful.
with actors,
yes,
total hoax.
yes,
You acknowledge that repeatedly you mocked parents by saying that they had done the fake, the laughing and then the fake crying, right?
no, not parents. I said Robbie Parker. Look fake to me.
Did you remember the video we just saw earlier in which you said It's not just one, you have a bunch of parents doing that. Do you remember?
I told you I didn't say their names, so I can't say I said the parents.
So, did you remember when we just played a video, not long ago, that I showed you on this very point, where you said, it's not just one parent doing this, but a bunch of parents.
I
Did you
remember
remember
the
seeing
video.
the video?
Yes.
That was you in it, right?
Yes.
You chose to say that. Nobody made you say
Yes.
that, right? Now, Mr. Jones, am I correct that over time, there have been many instances in which you have learned that there are members of your audience who have been provoked to violence by
Objection
you?
at the forum, am I correct? Nobody cares about this.
No.
Okay. I'm not correct about that. That to this day, you're
Just 1 second, Trinity. If your client is going to speak through your objection, there's nothing I can do about it.
And she's right. He objects. Jones freaking answered. It was a bad answer. His attorney's like, I had an objection. And she's like, hey, your client kept freaking talking. I can't. I mean, she could strike it if she wanted to, but you need to learn to shut the fuck up, Alex. And his attorney needs to make his objections fucking very well known.
At this point, so should I
Understood.
remind him again?
Yes, please.
So, Mr. Jones, when your attorney objects, just stop speaking so that I can rule. You're getting your answer out before I can even.
I understand.
Okay.
No, you don't, because you keep fucking doing it.
you expect of your many, many, many millions of
Because he's getting locked on him and letting him do his thing and getting defensive, and he's forgetting about everything else. And that's a bad move when you're on a stand.
audience members. And many of them believe what you said, right?
Yes.
And you know that over time, members of your audience have committed violence, correct?
That question's, I can't answer that.
You don't know the answer to that, is what you're saying.
I mean, yeah.
And you familiar with a 2011 Rolling Stone article in which you were profiled?
Vaguely.
You say vaguely. Isn't that an article that you prominently featured on your website?
There's been a lot of articles on the website.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can refresh your recollection. Why don't we pull up Exhibit 74?
That is a full exhibit.
Refresh his lectures on what? He said he remembers it vaguely. What are you trying to refresh?
Your Honor.
Thank you.
And let's go down a page. Okay, here. In which you were telling your audience all about you, about Alex Jones, right?
Objection when judge.
This is a webpage of yours that's about Alex Jones, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if we go, and you don't dispute that you published this, yes?
Looks like an old, some old, no, it looks like my site.
Yeah. And if we go down to the bottom, it's okay, read that. Quoted a 2011 Rolling Stone article, right?
Yes, I mean, I acknowledge there's been a lot of Rolling Stone articles.
How many have there been about you?
Quite a few.
Okay. Is this the only one that you featured on your website?
I don't remember any of this.
All right. You don't remember any what?
I mean, I vaguely remember what you're talking about. So I
You
said yes.
remember that you were profiled in 2011 in Rolling Stone, yes?
Same answer I gave you a few minutes ago, yes.
And you decided to feature that quotes from that article on your website, right?
Somebody did, yes.
Is this your website? Do you take responsibility for anything, Mr. Jones?
No, but I mean,
Objection.
Oh, total objection. What the fuck? He just called him a fucking liar and said you don't. How is that real? This attorney is getting away. That fucking judge needs to admonish his ass. Wow.
The floor moved to strike
Most of it all.
that.
Is this your website? Do you
Alex is still fucking talking.
No, but I mean,
Objection to the floor moved to strike
most of it all.
that.
He's still fucking talking. Alex, you're a fucking idiot. Somebody take this clip and show it. You're a fucking idiot on a stand, dude. What does it fucking take for you to learn to shut the fuck up?
And in this 2011 Rolling Stone article, you actually cooperated with the author. You gave him an interview, did you not?
I remember the interview now. I've never seen his name.
He doesn't come off as if he's lying, but this attorney is making him look bad and getting in shit that he shouldn't be getting in.
And in that interview, you told the author, quote, "Some unstable people are drawn to the bright flame of enlightenment. That is so-called conspiracy culture. Some trees are going to become uprooted in a storm like this, but we can't stop telling the truth for fear of what telling the truth is going to do." Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay, that's what you said, right?
Yes.
Some people become uprooted, don't they? Right?
In whole culture, yes.
People in your audience, right?
I'm just speaking in general.
And these are people that you use, don't you?
No.
Okay. What about Dan Badani? You know Dan Badani?
Yes.
Dan Badani was an employee of yours, correct?
Briefly, full time, then did some stuff for us, yes.
Yeah. And when you got sued, you were very, very nervous about being connected to Dan Badani, weren't you?
No, I mean, I like Dan, but I like Dan.
Is that a no? You weren't nervous about being connected to him?
I mean, later we did some things we didn't like. I said we couldn't work with him anymore.
I'm talking about when you were sued. When you were sued here, 2018, remember that?
Yes.
One of the first things you did was direct Rob Dew to figure out when was the last time you paid Dan Badani, isn't it?
I don't remember that.
You don't? Do you deny it?
No,
And
Your Honor, that's bullshit. He already said he doesn't remember.
And during your first deposition in Texas, you said under oath that the last thing Dan Badani ever did for you was cover the Boston Marathon bombing, correct?
I mean, it all just bleeds together. This is years ago. I don't remember.
No, sir. You weren't deposed years ago. You testified.
I wasn't deposed years ago?
You testified in Texas, did you not, that the last thing Dan Badani ever did for you was cover the Boston Marathon?
Object
I
to
don't-
the form, Judge.
He's still fucking talking. Shut up!
On the item.
What the fuck?
Do you not know if you testified to that?
Objection.
I don't remember.
Let's pull up.
Once you say, I don't remember, I don't recall, he has to go somewhere else. Don't try and make shit up or fill in the blanks.
And let's just pull up the header in the first sentence.
Yes.
Rob Dew, one of your longtime top employees, correct?
Yes.
In fact, Rob Dew came up to Connecticut with you for your deposition, right?
Yes.
And he came up to Connecticut with you for your trial testimony. He's here right now, isn't he?
Yes.
And Rob Dew is emailing Melinda Flores. Melinda is your bookkeeper, correct?
Was.
And Tim Fruget, that's your longtime business director, correct?
Yes.
And he's copying an M. Balin at Baker Law. That's one of your lawyers, right?
Was.
He was at this time, yes?
Yes.
And what's the date?
5/24/18.
Right. And the subject?
Damn it up.
It says, from what I can tell, we paid our last invoice to Dan on January 2016. The invoice was from December 2015, right? That's what it says?
It does say that.
And this is the day after you were sued by these families that Rob Dew's looking into this, right?
I don't remember this.
Right. You don't remember? The question is, was this the day after you were sued?
If you tell me so,
No, sir. You're the witness here.
I don't remember.
Well, let me see if I can refresh your recollection. Let's bring up that, the complaint we were looking at earlier. You remember we were looking at your lawsuit earlier where you sued somebody else?
Yes.
And let's go down a page. Let's go to paragraph 5. May 23rd, 2018, InfoWars, Jones' employer was sued by a range of people, including those related to the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting. I read that right?
Yes.
So if that's true, and this is your complaint, right?
Yes.
Rob Dew, the day after, is trying to figure out when Dan Bidandi last worked for you guys, right?
I guess that's an email. Yes.
And then, pull that down. I think your testimony is that you don't recall whether you said the last thing he ever covered for you was the Boston Marathon bombing, right?
Yeah, I don't remember any of this. Yes.
And the reason that you were so concerned about Dan Bidandi is because you knew.
Crap. All right. Going to part 6. Wow.